Hey guys, Tower Glimmer here, and I'm bringing you guys another Tower God Explained video. And this one will be a video that will probably be very long because it is involving our main character, the 25th Baam, and it is covering every single power that he has. Before we start this, I want to fully say that this is not every single skill the Baam possesses, because if that was the case, then we will be here for literally 2 hours. And I don't have that time. I don't think you have that kind of time. So let's just keep it generalized, and we're going to do every major power that Baam possesses, every main ability that contributes to him being as overpowered as he really is. So without any further ado, let us get into the power set of the Irregular, the 25th Baam. Okay, so we are going to start with the fundamentals of Baam's power, where most of his skills come from. And it seems like this is what makes Baam really special in the Tower God world. And it's almost like an infinite black hole type of interworld that he has inside of himself, that he is able to basically devour and swallow up almost anything. And we have seen this many times during the course of the story. The most recent example is seeing the size comparison of this world to a massive creature like Leviathan, which basically makes him look like a tiny snake in this huge room. There seems to be some sort of also core that looks like a sun in this infinite darkness that can basically swallow up other powers and make Baam stronger, and maybe acts like the core of Baam itself. We see this mostly when he fought White in their final fight in the Cat Tower. Next, we will look at Baam's physical abilities and skills. And actually, in terms of raw strength, Baam is not actually the most naturally gifted compared to other 10 Great Family members or princesses of Jihad. We see that Baam had trouble keeping up with Dorsey in the straight physical speed without Shinsu boosting. It's actually a bit weird considering that he is the child of two Irregulars. Kind of like people like the Hot Twins or Jihad. You would assume that Baam would be a little bit more physically gifted than that. Where Baam shines the most is in his skills mostly, due to the fact that he has been trained by two amazing martial artists in Ha Jinsung and Ha Cha. SIU himself has even gone so far to state that Baam is the most skilled member of his team alongside Dorsey and Sachi, and in current day is said to be more skilled than rankers, people who have spent their entire lives climbing the tower for hundreds of years. This next power is kind of like Baam's cheat code, and is basically the power that lets him grow at such a fast rate. It seems to be an extension of his devouring trait, and it seems that he can copy almost every technique that he has been hit by, be it a physical skill or Shinsu attack, from either rankers or regulars. An example of this is how he learned the reverse flow control from Quant in Season 1 by just getting frozen one time, or one of his favorite copied skills that he kinda has made into his own thing, the blue ore, which lets him fly around, and now he has turned it from a flying disc into wings that he can fly around in. He learned this from obviously the ranker Mule Love. Now we get to the aspect of Baam that I believe is the most skilled in my opinion, as he is first and foremost a wave controller. His Shinsu control is at such a high level that now he has basically infinite amounts of it, by using a method that was taught to him by the genius Hansung Yu, which is called the Shinsu loops, where he can cycle Shinsu from the environment at the same rate that he uses it. So it's constantly looping and never really runs out. And of course, since he is an irregular, he can use a technique called the Shinsu Black Hole Sphere, a technique that in normal situations, no one else outside of irregulars can really use. He uses this skill to normally cancel out other forms of Shinsu by basically sucking the force of that Shinsu in and exploding it. The Shinsu Black Hole Sphere is a very busted technique, but it's also an ability that Baam has said himself that he cannot use as freely as his regular Shinsu. So he has to use it sparingly, or at least more sparingly than he would his normal Shinsu control skills. Baam's Shinsu quality is a piece of conversation among the fandom actually, but most agree that his Shinsu quality is actually his black Shinsu that we have seen during the White fight and the Data Jihad fight. This Shinsu has the properties of either rotten water or a black hole that is able to take down other Shinsu or people. Baam's main Shinsu shape is the orb, although we do know that he currently also knows how to form a Shinsu bow. The orb is a skill that is meant to max out his Shinsu, basically meaning to make it a lot stronger and also be able to throw out a bunch of them in quick succession from all over the place. The orb can also just be used for the shape alone without actually pouring Shinsu into the orb, as we have seen during the Data Jihad fight, where he sucked in a bunch of rocks into the orb to make it into an orb-shaped rock barrier. Currently, he can make up to 3 huge orbs. In between Season 1 and 2, the workshop did an experiment on Baam himself that made him into a living ignition weapon. This means that he is a being that is able to ignite. We have actually seen that, like other ignition weapons, he had a demon put inside of himself, which is a being that we know now as the Blue Thryssa. He was able to somewhat bring out these powers, like when he healed himself with that red ribcage in Season 2, and Beta even called him the completed one during the workshop battle. So he must have been the best outcome of the experiment by the workshop. And these living ignition traits can also be the reason that he can have ignition weapons ignite inside of him as well. This is one of the most iconic powers that Baam has, and it comes from the Irregular Enryu. The Thorn has actually been split into 4 pieces, and Baam currently holds 2 inside of himself. The first one he got during the workshop battle and is mostly a huge amp to his power whenever it's brought out, boosting himself and making his natural body a lot stronger, even without the use of Shinsu. Other than that, it also has the power to dominate Shinsu just like Enryu had, which makes him able to do almost impossible actions like freezing a shadow and being able to resist having his Shinsu taken away by a piece of a guardian, which was Joe. The second Thorn fragment that Baam possesses has the power of spatial distortion, and it allows Baam to do things like warp or change the course of other people's teleportations. This Thorn also increases his power just like the first one. One final thing about the Thorns is that they are ignition weapons and they can ignite, just like how we saw in the Data Jihad fight when Baam needed more power and so ignited the Thorn to make himself more powerful. Although Baam himself says this puts a strain on his body. This is a power that Baam got from the last clone of the Slayer White, that basically was a combination of billions of souls that White had consumed over his lifetime. While we don't know the amount that she actually gave to Baam, we know that it's probably in the hundreds, and Baam normally doesn't use these scents to get the full power out of the souls. One actually has to burn them away, which basically means you have to use them as fuel and kill the souls inside of you. But there has been many desperate situations where he has given up and used this power, and of course has greatly increased all his capabilities. And don't get me wrong, just having the souls in your body without burning them makes you in general stronger, like how we have seen with Rak and Kun, where they can now fly even when they didn't have that ability before, and it doesn't seem like they're burning the souls inside of them to do it. But when he actually burns them up is when he can perform great feats like teleporting the giant needle cannon they had to use in the nest with the use of the second Thorn's teleportation, or clearing the gap in power with White and becoming stronger than him in their multiple battles. The Blue and Red Thryssa are demons that seem to be pieces of guardians in some way, shape, or form. The red being from the dead guardian of the 43rd floor that was killed by Enryu, and the blue is unknown so far, but was within Baam's body for a longer period of time. For the longest time during the story, we didn't know how much Baam could actually use these powers in a fight, other than maybe just making him generally stronger or increasing his range of attacks. But now in Season 3, because of Baylor Doom trying to make Baam into a canine person, he is now able to perform transformation, and he used the demons to turn into weapons. The red becomes a big sword, and the blue basically becomes a good shield that he can use for defense. So far, the strongest he can go with this is level 3 transformation, which makes them basically just huge versions of themselves. Revolution is very interesting because it is both a form of training that Baam has to undergo, which basically takes him to this place which is basically like an interworld that is meant for him to learn the truth about it, both himself as a person and his powers. And it is also a mode the Baam uses that is kind of just him using all his powers at the same time in a big combination. And because of that, by extent, this is obviously Baam at his strongest. Normally, the tell that he is in this mode is the two horns that appear above him that are red and blue. And of course, whatever other powers is swirling around him at the time of him activating it. So far, the strongest we have seen this form go is when he used almost all of his power versus the complete version of white and became stronger than even the ancient slayer. This is Baam's most recent power that he has gotten in Season 3, and it's the Shinwei or Divine Sea Fish, Leviathan, a being that is said to be one of the strongest creatures in the tower, most likely only being beaten by guardians in strength. When Baam first uses him, he only uses the powers in small doses with an external transformation that blows back even the strongest high rankers in the tower. But after his first use, Baam decides that Leviathan has too much of a strong will and mind of his own, so he has trained, and now he uses Leviathan's power as a form of Shinsu that basically just makes his overall Shinsu abilities stronger, like the Shinsu loops and the orb and all that kind of stuff. It basically is just an amp to his Shinsu abilities, although of course Baam can always use more power if he needs to. We are still learning a lot about Leviathan, to be honest, so in the future Baam actually may be able to command the full might of this beast, and honestly that will be a very terrifying day. And now basically we're just going to go through the list of the other random powers that Baam is privy to. His first one is that he is immune to spells. Baam seems to have a strange immunity to spells, and this, while not fully explained, as we have seen many Irregulars use and be caught in spells before, so we know it's not a Irregular exclusive ability that they have. But I actually have a whole short theory video on my channel about why he may have this ability, so you can go check that out if you want, since it has not fully been explained in the story, and I think my theory makes a little bit of sense. Sorry if my video hasn't aged the best though, because that is when I was still using a face cam. The next power that he has, but he hasn't really used that much in the current day of the story, since he probably doesn't want to get Yuri in trouble, is the Black March. Baam is currently in the possession of one of the 13-month series called the Black March that basically lets him extend and amplify his powers, and actually lets him use close combat skills from a longer range, like the floral butterfly piercing techniques during the last station and stuff like that. Other than the last station, he hasn't really used it again, in fear that Yuri would get into more trouble because Baam is basically in possession of the Black March illegally. And the final thing I want to talk about is a very underrated aspect of Baam. I see a lot of people in the community have this notion that Baam is just a very strong character, and that's all he is. He's just a very overpowered character, and he's not very smart with the powers that he uses, and that is not true at all. Baam is not just a brute force fighter. He can when he is way above somebody in power, of course, but why would you use strategy when you're so much higher than somebody else? Baam does use a lot of his powers as basically just buffs to his other powers, but he has combined a lot of them in the past for many clever attacks, and in general has come up with many ways to get around of hard challenges with his smarts and the use of his varied skills. While he may not be a genius like Shibizu or Kun, he is a very smart individual when it comes to problem solving and fighting. We have seen him combine the orb with a Shinsu black hole sphere. We have seen him basically scatter the orb in the air for protection against Data Jihad. And one current example that I actually like a lot is when he fought the Serpent Master. He knew the Serpent Master couldn't be damaged by his other attacks because of the way that he basically flowed through Shinsu. So instead of wasting his energy, he decided to fill the enclosed space with as much Shinsu as possible and then use his other powers to physically slash him. So yeah, honestly, I think that's a very underrated aspect of our protagonist Baam that I see a lot throughout the story. And it's very sad to see because I actually do enjoy the fact that he uses his powers in a very creative way, not just using his full power from the start and just wrecking his opponents. If he has a challenge, he's going to solve it with his varied array of powers, because if you give a character a lot of powers, and a lot of varied amounts of them, have them use them in very clever ways, which I appreciate that SIU has been doing that a lot during the story, and I hope to see a lot more of it from the future. And again, this is just current Baam's abilities. from the current chapters of Tower of God from when this video came out. Of course, Baam is probably going to get a lot more abilities and a lot more powers, and he's probably going to be the strongest Tower of God character depending on how the story plays out, right? But again, other than that, that's probably the end of this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and remember, I'll always be here to tell you the truth, and when the truth is not fully explained, I will be here to give you guys my opinion on the truth. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.